Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel's tanks push into the heart of Jabalia in northern Gaza, and in south, operation of Rafah continues. Suspect in the attack on Slovak Prime Minister charged with attempted murder. Slovak Prime Minister Fico in serious but stable condition. Donald Trump trial star witness Michael Cohen accused of lying about hush money phone call. Legendary director Francis Ford Coppola's long-awaited passion project Megalopolis premieres at the Cannes Film Festival. Coppola running for the Palme d'Or for the first time since winning it in 1979. World number one, Iga Swiatek sweeps past Coco Gauff to reach third Italian Open final. Will clash with world number two Aryna for the title on Saturday. Let's get to updates on Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel has vowed on Thursday to intensify its ground offensive in Rafah. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said that the military would send more troops into Rafah. Following a troop visit in Rafah on Wednesday, Gallant said that hundreds of targets have already been struck and Israeli forces are maneuvering in the area. The Israeli Defense Minister also said that additional forces will enter Rafah area and this activity will intensify in the coming days. Meanwhile, fighting also rages on in northern Gaza, where Hamas has regrouped. Heavy battles rocked in Jabalia, where military spokesman Nadav Shoshani said that there had been intelligence indicating that Hamas was trying to reassemble its forces. The army said that 5 of its soldiers were killed in Jabalia on Wednesday when 2 Israeli tanks mistakenly shelled the building they were in. The U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill on Thursday that would push President Joe Biden to send weapons to Israel. The Israel Security Assistance Support Act was approved 224 to 187, largely along the party lines. 16 Democrats also joined most Republicans in voting yes. The act would prevent Biden from freezing any congressionally approved military aid to Israel, including 3,500 to 2,000 pound and 500 pound bombs that he has put on hold. Republicans accused Biden of turning his back on Israel after facing widespread protests. Also, Republicans say that Biden has no right to interfere with Israel's military campaign. Democrats also accused the other party of playing politics, saying Republicans are distorting Biden's position on Israel. The United States anchored a temporary floating pier to a beach in Gaza on Thursday to boost aid deliveries. The floating platform is ready to receive the first shipments of aid from a staging post in Cyprus, 200 miles to the north. U.S. officials say the first 500 tons of assistance will arrive soon, with thousands more to follow. By opening a route to deliver aid by sea, the U.S. hopes to combat the humanitarian crisis that has put hundreds of thousands of people at risk of famine. But the U.S. and humanitarian agencies said that there were challenges still to be resolved. The United Nations said on Thursday that it was still finalizing its operational plans to handle the distribution of aid once it comes off the pier. The United Nations stressed that delivering aid by land was the most viable, effective and efficient method.
We are finalizing our operational plans to make sure that we're ready to handle aid once the floating dock is properly functioning, while ensuring the safety of our staff. Community awareness and acceptance is paramount to ensure the safety and security of this operation. We're grateful for the efforts of Cyprus, supported by other member states, to sustain the maritime corridor as an additional route for aid to Gaza. And of course, we're thankful to the US for all the work they've done in creating the floating dock. However, getting aid to people in need into and across Gaza cannot and should not depend on a floating dock far from where needs are most acute. Land routes are the most viable, effective, and efficient aid delivery method, which is why we need all crossing points to be opened.
South Africa urged the UN's top court on Thursday to order a halt to Israel's offensive on Rafah, saying the attacks on the southern Gaza city must be stopped to ensure survival of the Gazan people. South Africa's ambassador to the Netherlands asked judges to order Israel to immediately, totally and unconditionally withdraw the Israeli army from the entirety of the Gaza Strip. South Africa also asked the World Court to order Israel to allow unimpeded access to Gaza for UN officials, organizations providing humanitarian aid, journalists and investigators. South Africa was presenting arguments in support of its request for additional emergency measures on Thursday. Israel, which has denounced South Africa's claim that it is violating the 1949 convention as baseless, will respond on Friday. In previous filings, it stressed that it had stepped up efforts to get humanitarian aid into Gaza, as the ICJ had ordered. The hearings at the International Court of Justice come after South Africa last week asked for additional emergency measures, in fact, to protect Rafah. An immediate ceasefire, deployment of peacekeepers and a lasting two-state solution are the demands of the Arab League. Leaders met in Bahrain on Thursday to try to draft an end to the war in Gaza and create sustainable peace. From Baghdad in Iraq, Stuart Smith has more.
Opening the summit on Thursday, Bahrain's King Hamad said the meeting took place amid painful and unprecedented circumstances. The 22-member group agreed that an end to the war in Gaza must begin with a peace conference, which they hope would result in a ceasefire before international recognition of a Palestinian state, with East Jerusalem as its capital. To that end, Bahrain, with Spain, is hoping to launch an international peace conference in the coming months that would rebuild international momentum, they say, to revive the two-state solution. Leaders acknowledged it's the United Nations Security Council that must contribute to make that happen, and that a concrete timeline is necessary. But officials believe a recent vote at the United Nations General Assembly, which saw 143 members vote for full Palestinian statehood, might help put pressure on Washington.
We gather as hearts are breaking for Palestinians in Gaza. The war in Gaza is an open wound that threatens to infect the entire region. In its speed and scale, it is the deadliest conflict in my time as Secretary General for civilians, aid workers, journalists, and our own UN colleagues.
At the summit, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said the US must stop using its veto against what he called the international consensus.
Even that this government was welcomed by the world, I did not get any financial support as it was expected. Israel continues to block our money, which put us in a very critical situation.
In a joint communique after the conference, Arab heads of state and government also called for the Israeli military to leave Gaza and demanded an international investigation into recent attacks against humanitarian aid trucks heading there. The Arab states are now calling for United Nations peacekeepers to be deployed to Gaza until, they say, a two-state solution is realized. But some members of the Arab League, more closely aligned to the US, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, are keen not to deploy military forces themselves. Next year's summit will be hosted here in Iraq. Stuart Smith in Baghdad, reporting for DD India.
Russia and China have announced that they will deepen their already close ties as Russian president is paying a state visit to China. On Thursday, the two sides celebrated the 75th anniversary of formal China-Russia relations, with President Putin praising the warm and comradely talks with Xi Jinping. Dasha Chernyshova has more from Moscow.
As Russian President Vladimir Putin is on a state visit to China, he says Moscow's practical cooperation with Beijing has reached impressive results. He stressed the importance of energy in bilateral cooperation, with Russia being a reliable energy supplier for the growing Chinese economy. Putin said in 2023, supplies of Russian oil, gas and coal to China achieved a record level. But as bilateral trade reached $240 billion last year, Putin noted development of other areas of cooperation, such as industry, agriculture. He said the two had plans to deepen ties in high technologies and innovation, as well as space, nuclear energy and transport infrastructure construction.
The Russia-China relationship is not a temporary expedient and does not target any third party. Our cooperation in international affairs is one of the main stabilizing factors in the international arena today.
The two sides held talks in different formats with delegations and tete-a-tete. Moscow and Beijing criticized the Western initiatives to seize assets and property of foreign countries and discussed international agenda, including the conflict in Ukraine. Putin arrived in Beijing early on Thursday for talks, and the two leaders signed an agreement to deepen mutual ties. Dasha Chernashova reported in Moscow for DD India.
NATO's military committee met in Brussels on Thursday to discuss Russia's war in Ukraine, and Admiral Rob Boyer, the committee's chief, said in his opening remarks that more help was on way to Kyiv. Ukraine is currently trying to repel a Russian assault in the northeast while defending against Moscow's main thrust in the eastern front lines. Megumi Lim has more from Kyiv.
The NATO military committee marked the 813th day of Russia's war in Ukraine as they met in Brussels to discuss continued support to Kyiv. Admiral Rob Boyer urged allied countries to prioritize aid to Ukraine during this critical time when Russian troops have intensified their attacks and have made some gains on the battlefield over the past few days. He said, quote, "More help is on the way, and that cannot come a moment too soon." He said because time in Ukraine is not measured in days, weeks, or months, it is measured in human lives.
I'm not going to talk in detail on what was discussed, but I'm convinced that we will see in the near future some serious improvements in the ammunition that Ukraine will receive.
Moscow launched a ground offensive into Ukraine's northeast Kharkiv region last week and claimed to have taken at least 9 villages so far. Ukraine's defense ministry confirmed on Wednesday that Russian troops had entered the northern part of the town of Vovchansk, a focal point of ongoing battles there, and a local police chief said intense street battles were taking place. Now, Russia intensified its attacks after U.S. Congress approved a long-delayed military aid, and as Ukraine waited for more weapons and supplies to arrive. Admiral Boyer also praised the success of Exercise Steadfast Defender, NATO's largest military exercise held in 40 years, where more than 90,000 troops took part. He said NATO was stronger and readier than it has ever been. Russia's war in Ukraine has placed NATO on high alert, raising concerns of a greater geopolitical impact. Admiral Boyer said, quote, "The world is on a historical crossroads, not only between democracy and autocracy." He said this is very much also about impunity versus accountability. I'm Megumi Lim in Kyiv reporting for DD India.
The man who opened fire on Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico and critically injured him has been charged with attempted murder. Slovakia's Interior Minister Matis Estok said a man has been charged with attempted murder who did not belong to any political group. The suspect acted alone and had taken part in anti-government protests. President-elect Peter Pellegrini, speaking at the news conference, said that Fico remains in a serious but stable condition and is able to speak a little.
He's able to speak, but only few sentences, and then he's really, really tired because he's under some medication. So, of course, it is very difficult for him. But I had the chance that I came in the right moment when he was able to speak with me a few sentences, but the situation is very critical and we have to give him a lot of energy and think and be positive.
Slovak news media have said that the shooter is a 71-year-old former security guard at a shopping mall and the author of 3 collections of poetry. There has been no official confirmation of his identity. Police gave no details about their investigation but said that they had boosted security at Slovakia's parliament and also around media offices and schools. The shooting was the first major assassination attempt on a European political leader for more than 20 years and has drawn international condemnation. Donald Trump's defense lawyer on Thursday accused Michael Cohen, the trial's key witness, as an unrepentant liar and suggested the fabricated testimony. Michael Cohen will be back for a fourth day on the stand when the trial resumes on Monday, setting the stage for closing arguments. On Thursday, he was accused by the defense lawyer Todd Blanche about his history of lying, his criminal record, and testimony that the defense called bogus. Blanche repeatedly attacked the credibility of Cohen, whose testimony about $130,000 hush money payment to a porn star and his reimbursement by Donald Trump underpinned the 34 felony counts against the former president. The New York case, one of the 4 criminal prosecutions he faces, is likely to be the only one with a jury verdict before his November 5th election rematch with President Biden. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break.
Well, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting day. It was a fascinating day. And it shows what a scam this whole thing is. I didn't violate any law. It was a scam. This case that was going to be brought, which it should have never been brought, should have been brought 7 or 8 years ago. They didn't do that because they wanted to bring it right in the middle of the election, and especially since we're leading in every poll.
Political leaders spread it out across the nation to woo the voters ahead of the 5th phase polling scheduled on Monday. We'll get you more on this after the break. The Indian Meteorological Department cautions several states to brace up against heat wave, even as people continue to swelter under a ferocious spell of weather. In IPL, Sunrisers Hyderabad becomes the 3rd team to qualify for the playoffs.
We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera. The 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival is here. So soak into 12 days of world cinema and the hottest fashion trends. The famous 24 steps leading to the Palais des Festivals, where most of the cinema at this festival is screened, are beckoning. Join me, Munmun Bhattacharya, as I take you through all the buzz around the festival and on India's participation in it, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti, and now we'll get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Campaigning is in full swing ahead of the 5th phase of polling on May 20th. In India's general elections in 2024. Now, leaders of various parties are leaving no stone unturned to the voters in their favour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold election rallies in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. He will visit Barabanki, Fatehpur and Hamirpur constituencies. Later, Prime Minister will also address a public rally in Mumbai South Central Lok Sabha constituency in the western state of Maharashtra. Indian Union Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party's senior leader Amit Shah will also campaign in Uttar Pradesh's Amethi. He will also address a public meeting in Rourkela in eastern state of Odisha. He will also go to Jharkhand's capital Ranchi. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will address a public rally in Uttar Pradesh's Balia. BJP President JP Nadda will campaign in Odisha's Kantabanji. Former Congress President Sonia Gandhi will address a rally in Uttar Pradesh's Raebareli with Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi and Samajwadi Party's chief Akhilesh Yadav. The All India Majlis-e-Ittehadul Muslimin or AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi will also address a public meeting in Uttar Pradesh's Kaushambi in support of PDM or Pichra Dalit Muslim Nyay Morcha candidate Narendra Kumar Saroj from Kaushambi today. Amidst the hectic campaigning in the Bangaon Lok Sabha constituency in West Bengal, DD India correspondent Dibendu Mondal spoke to Union Minister of State for Shipping and BJP candidate for Bangaon Lok Sabha constituency, Shantanu Thakur, who spoke on the importance of CAA and also his confidence of winning the election. Let's listen in.
I'm joined by the BJP candidate and Union Minister Shantanu Thakur, who is also contesting from the Bunga Lok Sabha. Shantanu, how confident are you of your winning this Lok Sabha once again?
I have a fully confidence that I am going to win, and the support actually I am getting from every constituency in my parliamentary constituency. So this is actually people's love, what they are given to me. And I feel very proud for that.
Also, Shantanu, the Citizenship Amendment Act, yesterday we saw 14 people granted citizenship who had come from Pakistan. It is an important issue in this particular constituency as well, but the ruling government is saying that they will not they will not implement it here in Bengal. What would you like to say?
No, not like that. That our central government, the Home Ministry given the citizenship for the Pakistani who came from Pakistan, but this government and this state government and the chief minister, she says that she will be agree if the free citizenship given to the people, those who came from Bangladesh. And another, his nephew said that if there is no NRC, then we are going to support that citizenship. So this means they are in two paths, dual role they are playing. This is called a frauding to the people, that people will not accept this type of talk.
Thank you for Shantanu Thakur talking to Doordarshan. This is Dibendu Mondal with cameraperson PK for DD India from Bangaon.
Let's take a look at sports now. World number 1 Iga Swiatek mashed into her third Italian Open final as she beat American third seed Coco Gauff 6-4, 6-3 in the first semi-final on Thursday. The Pole hit back to take a first set 6-4 with a clinical backhand win. Also, second set went with serve until Swiatek broke the 20-year-old to lead 3-2 and eventually booked her spot in the final, where she will bid for a third Italian Open title in 4 years. Following her 11th straight win on clay, Swiatek could become only the third player in history to win the Madrid-Rome double after Dinara Safina in 2009 and Serena Williams in 2013. Meanwhile, in another semi-final match, world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka put away American 13th seed Danielle Collins for 7-5, 6-2 to book a place in the Italian Open final. In beating Collins, the Belarusian raced to a 4-1 lead in the first set before the American broke back to draw level. Sabalenka, however, eventually took the set and eased to victory, never facing a break point in the second set. Now, this will be the 5th time Sabalenka and Swiatek meet in the final, all of which have been on clay. Legendary director Francis Ford Coppola's long-awaited passion project Megalopolis premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. The Oscar-winning director of The Godfather is in the running for the Palme d'Or for the first time since Apocalypse Now netted him the top prize in 1979. Attesting to Coppola's cachet, even the supporting cast is particularly well stocked with famous names such as Shia LaBeouf, Aubrey Plaza, Lawrence Fishburne and Hoffman. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on social media, and for those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code up your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.